People have been asking me to discuss testing as it relates to functional programming, and it turns out the best practices for unit testing are actually well aligned with those of functional programming. Hey there, my name is Wolf, and I'm a barely functional dev who knows just enough to try and explain this to you. Good tests must be isolated from one another and behave deterministically. The best way to achieve this is to work with pure functions without any side effects. This means that rerunning the tests without changing the production or the test code will always yield the same results. Also, the execution of one test will not impact the results of another. And for more information about what it means to write using pure functions, I'll be linking videos that relate to those topics I've already done in the past. As much as possible, everything that the production or the test code needs must exist only within the scope of the current function, and it only passes from one function to another function through parameters. Referencing global variables or other stateful references such as this, it not only makes your code impure, but it also makes it much harder to test. So in addition, mocking things like imports or globals are sure signs that your code isn't very testable to begin with, but passing in things like stubs or spies into functions, that is actually a valid testing strategy so long as you don't break the rules of test isolation or determinism. If you find yourself writing very long tests with many assertions that can fail for multiple different reasons, then that's probably a sign that your function under test is trying to do too much. Just like functional programming tends to encourage more concise functions that do one thing well, good testing practices tend to encourage the same behaviors. Sometimes for pragmatic reasons, you'll need to make use of impure code, like particularly from third-party libraries, or maybe you have a legacy code base. In these situations, it's my personal preference to provide a functional wrapper around that imperative API so that you can write the logic on top of this wrapper in a pure declarative manner, and it lends itself to easier testing, and you only have to do the nastier kinds of testing around that functional wrapper code itself. There's a very popular example of this approach, like using the virtual DOM as a functional wrapper or API on top of direct DOM manipulation. So for example, using a library like React or HyperApp over something like jQuery. So these have been a few of my thoughts on testing as it relates to functional programming, but what are your thoughts? Leave those in the comments below, or tell me what other functional programming topics you'd like to see me cover next. Subscribe to the channel to see those future videos, and as always, like the video if you found it helpful in any way.